Let's dive right into this explainer. Welcome, everyone. Today, we're deconstructing one of the most utterly fascinating figures in epic literature. We're looking way beyond those simple labels of good or bad to understand a true, complex, tragic hero from the Mahabharata, Karna. Our source material gives us a brilliant framework to look at his life, showing us a man who is systematically destroyed by circumstance, yet defined by an absolutely unmatched nobility.
To really wrap our heads around this sprawling story, we're going to use a specific analytical lens called the Four Pillars, moving chronologically through these 6 stages. The 4 pillars of betrayal, the unwanted royal child, friendship born in defiance, the curse of the guru, the ultimate unconditional giver, and finally, a tragic immortal legacy.
All right, part 1, the 4 pillars of betrayal. This central thesis really sets up the framework for our entire character study today.
So, there's this fascinating ancient concept that a successful life is supported by 4 key pillars: mother, father, teacher, and God, right? They're supposed to nurture, guide, and protect you. But our subject, Karna, he was uniquely abandoned and actively betrayed by every single one of them. And honestly, this is the tragic, heartbreaking core of his entire existence.
Moving on to part 2, the unwanted royal child. Let's look at his origin story and see exactly how those first 2 pillars, mother and father, failed him right out of the gate.
Karna was born to a young, unmarried princess named Kunti. The source material tells us she used a powerful mantra from the sage Durvasa to summon the sun god. And the result? A child miraculously born with Kavacha and Kundala, that's divine, impenetrable armor and earrings that literally grew out of his own flesh. Talk about a built-in celestial defense system.
But here's the crucial point. Despite having literal royal and divine blood, society instantly branded him. To avoid a massive scandal, Kunti put her newborn in a box and just set him adrift in a river. He was eventually found and raised by a humble charioteer. So think about it. His mother threw him away to save face, and his father, the sun god, just watched from above and did absolutely nothing. The first 2 pillars crumbled before his life even really began, permanently locking him out of his rightful royal status.
Which brings us to part 3, friendship born in defiance. Completely rejected by his blood family, let's see how a substitute pillar stepped in to support him.
Imagine this scene. The royal teacher, Drona, hosts this grand archery tournament, and Karna steps up to prove his incredible skill. But he's publicly humiliated and rejected on the spot, simply because his caste is unknown. Then, out of nowhere, the so-called primary villain of the epic, Duryodhana, stands up. He delivers this brilliant defense of merit over birthright, arguing that bravery and nobility transcend whatever family you happen to be born into.
And this perfectly illustrates why Karna pledged his absolute, unwavering loyalty to Duryodhana. While the good Pandavas and royal society offered nothing but mockery and demanded a caste certificate he simply didn't have, Duryodhana did the unthinkable. He offered immediate respect and literally crowned him the king of Anga right then and there. He gave Karna an identity when the rest of the world offered nothing but humiliation. That single act bound Karna to him for life, even when Duryodhana did some deeply questionable things later on.
Now for part 4, the curse of the guru. This is where we see the devastating failure of that 3rd pillar.
Desperate to master the ultimate weapons, Karna disguises his warrior caste to study under the great teacher Parashurama, who only taught Brahmins, and he was a stellar student. But one day, while Parashurama is sleeping with his head on Karna's lap, a beetle, which our source notes was actually the god Indra in disguise, viciously bites Karna's thigh. Blood is pouring out. But Karna? He endures the agonizing pain in total silence, refusing to move an inch, just so he doesn't wake his sleeping master. But, inevitably, the warm blood wakes Parashurama. And here is the brutal, devastating irony of this whole situation. Karna's noble capacity to endure that level of pain proved he wasn't a Brahmin. It exposed his warrior blood. Furious at being lied to, the guru curses him. He decrees that Karna will forget all his supreme weapons at the exact second his life depends on them in battle. Just like that, the 3rd pillar, the teacher, had officially forsaken him.
All right, part 5, the ultimate unconditional giver. We've reached the final pillar, God, and the ultimate test of Karna's most defining psychological trait.
Our source text puts a huge emphasis on this ancient concept called kodai. Karna was absolutely legendary for his expectation-free generosity. If you asked him for something, he would never, ever say no. He gave unconditionally, like how rain nourishes the earth without asking for anything back.
And sadly, it's exactly this beautiful virtue that the divine forces decided to exploit. I really want you to ask yourself, if you knew an apocalyptic war was coming, why on earth would you strip away your only defense? Let's look at what happens when the god Indra, who happens to be the father of Karna's greatest rival Arjuna, approaches Karna disguised as a poor Brahmin begging for alms.
This is, without a doubt, the most staggering moment in today's explainer. Karna knows full well this Brahmin is a god in disguise trying to weaken him. He knows that without his armor he can be killed. But what does he do? He takes a knife, physically slices the divine armor and earrings straight out of his own flesh, and just hands them over with a smile. He literally strips away his own immortality, simply because he refuses to break his vow of generosity. The final pillar, God actively worked to disarm and destroy him.
And it doesn't stop there. Right before the Great War, his biological mother, Kunti, secretly visits him in the dark. She finally reveals the truth of his birth and begs him to switch sides and join his brothers, the Pandavas. But Karna delivers this utterly heart-wrenching refusal. He tells her, "When everyone abandoned me, Duryodhana gave me an identity. I cannot leave him now, even if you are my mother." He actively chooses loyalty to the man who accepted him over the mother who discarded him. Which leads us to our final section. Part 6, A Tragic Immortal Legacy. Let's see how all these betrayals finally culminate on the battlefield. Even though he refuses to switch sides, Karna's boundless generosity forces him to grant his weeping mother a few final boons. By promising to spare her 4 younger sons and limiting the use of his deadliest weapon, Karna essentially guarantees his own defeat. He rides into this apocalyptic battle without his divine armor, without his best weapons because of the curse, holding back against his enemies, and driven by a chariot driver who openly despises him. And that leaves us with this final, incredibly powerful thought. Karna was systematically destroyed by circumstance. Mother, father, teacher, and God, they all abandoned or actively plotted against him. Yet, because of his unwavering loyalty and his kodai, his supreme generosity, his name is eternally synonymous with unmatched giving. He lost the war, for sure, but he won immortality as literature's ultimate tragic hero. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I want to leave you with this. Knowing everything he sacrificed, what would you have done in his place?